Oh, that cat. Oh, that's so funny. Ooh. Oh.
Charlie, you're gonna be late for the show.
You're nuts, Cole. It's not Thursday.
Charlie, look. It's Thursday. Five, four, three, two, one.
Hello, I'm Charlie Senack, and welcome to our first episode of Ottawa this week for Thursday, June 29th, 2017. Coming up on the program, we have the latest details of what you should watch out for if you will be going down to the Hill for Canada Day. We let you know about the latest security precautions that are in place with a threat of ISIS being very real. Also, we tell you the story of 19-year-old Layla Attar, a teen from Ottawa who will be trekking across Canada this July, sharing her personal story of battling addictions, such as to drugs like fentanyl, and her personal journey through mental health. She's hoping to hear your story. And with the school year being out, naloxone kits are on the minds of many parents whenever children return back to school. Hi everyone, and welcome to our first episode of Ottawa This Week. It's so nice to be back at the anchor desk, I must say. I haven't been back here since the American elections back in the fall, and before that it was the summer, so it's really nice to have my own weekly show again, and it's going to be great to share everything that's been going on in Ottawa throughout the past week, especially with it being Canada's 150th birthday, and also a little bit into my life too, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited. And that's going to be leading us into our first story of the week. Canada Day is only a few days away, and well, you will notice an extremely high security presence in the downtown core throughout the weekend. In an effort to increase security during Canada Day festivities, streets in the downtown core will close earlier than they did in years prior, and police checkpoints will be tightened. City officials, including Mayor Jim Watson and Ottawa Police Chief Charles Bordelot, detailed the security measures and what they will look like around Ottawa for Canada Day at a news conference Friday.
A number of streets are going to be closed, in fact, earlier than normal, so we would encourage people to go back to ottawa.ca, where all of the information will be posted in the days ahead.
Watson said the early closures are because of an increase in events this year for Canada Day celebrations, which will span between June 30th to July 2nd. If you're planning to attend any Canada Day celebrations downtown this year, you're going to want to leave early and get through the checkpoints. New this year, you will have to go through airport security through tents on Wellington Street, which you, along with your bags, will be searched. This year, security is extra tightened not just because of the terrorism incident at the War Memorial in October of 2014 that killed Corporal Nathan Cirillo, but also because of the recent terrorist attacks in London, including the Westminster Bridge, the Manchester bombings, and the latest at the London Bridge and Borough Market areas.
Our plans for all our major events have continually adapted to the changing threat that we see internationally.
Ottawa's Police Chief Charles Bordelot will not comment much on what type of security measures will be in place. However, we do know that the security checkpoint will be moved to Wellington Street, and while they believe that will allow many more people to get on the hill.
If they go on the hill, they're going to have to be screened and their knapsacks and bags checked to make sure that they can do no harm to people coming just to have a good time.
Bordelot wouldn't say whether concrete blocks or dump trucks would be used as barriers as they were during New Year's Eve, and said it won't be known until the day due to security precautions.
We do have to recognize we live in a world that has changed dramatically over the last decade, where there are people that want to do evil deeds and harm our citizens.
The recommendation city officials are giving is that if you are going downtown for Canada Day, make sure you plan ahead and be there hours before the events even start in order to get a spot on the hill. In total, they are expecting about 500,000 people to attend the Canada Day celebrations. Well, now let's take a look at some of the news that has been shaping Ottawa over the course of the last week. Naloxone kits are now going to be available in both Catholic and public schools come the fall. The Ottawa Catholic School Board says they are committed to purchasing the nasal spray of naloxone to be kept in all high schools this fall. The public school board also will be having naloxone kits in their high schools. They say there have been no recent overdoses in their schools in recent months. And Dr. Mary Lee Fullerton, who ran to become the Conservative candidate for the new riding of Senack-Carleton, has won the nomination. Fullerton previously was on the Ottawa Public Board of Health and campaigned on more awareness for opioids. This comes at the same time multiple teens in Canada have died in recent months from opioid overdoses, some which are believed to have been from fentanyl. And we interviewed Dr. Fullerton in the spring about what she feels should be done to battle the opioid crisis. If you wish to see that interview, it can be found here on our channel. Also, the security threat is real as Canada Day approaches. ISIS has claimed that Ottawa is a target. Security in and around the hill will be tightened as Canada Day looms upon us. New this year, security tents will be set up on Wellington Street. Anyone who wants to attend festivities on the hill must go through full security in the tents before entering. And thousands gathered at Lansdowne for the annual Escapade Festival this year, and paramedics say it was quieter than they anticipated. In total, over the two-day event, 10 people overdosed over the weekend, and they saw 18 medical emergencies. Now, that number does also include those overdoses. In total, they would see about an average of 20 overdoses per festival, and that means that it has cut down by 50%. 19-year-old Layla Attar of Ottawa will be traveling across Canada this summer on a Via Rail 150 pass. Now, what does that pass mean? Well, that means that she paid only $150 and will be able to travel coast to coast throughout the month of July. Now, this is, of course, an experience that anyone would want, especially a 19-year-old. However, what she's doing with the pass might surprise you. Layla Attar, a 19-year-old who grew up in Richmond, is sharing her story of mental health and addictions in hopes of helping others do the same. The struggles of addiction started for Attar at a young age after being bullied throughout school. That made her turn to drugs as a coping mechanism.
Started as they first began when I was still living at home and I got bullied really badly in my high school, so that was a coping mechanism to deal with all that. And then it went on as I left home and I had all this freedom and independence. It was when I just went on a downward spiral. I had no family or friends around me and essentially just kind of lost control.
In total, Attar has overdosed 3 times, the last being in November to fentanyl, a drug that is 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine.
Like most people, I did relapse numerous times in my own attempts to get clean, but essentially I overdosed in last year in November on fentanyl and felt my life kind of pass before me, so it was time to make a change.
That change was made. Following the news of recent deaths in the city from drugs such as fentanyl, Attar felt she needed to do her part on spreading awareness on all of these issues she has personally dealt with. Attar has also dealt with depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. She knows what it's like to be in that dark place and hopes she can be the light others need. In March, Attar found out about a Canada 150 pass put on by Via Rail. In total, 4,000 passes were sold, and she was one of the last to receive one. With the pass, you can travel from coast to coast throughout the month of July and only pay $150. It was a dream come true for Attar. She could travel Canada from coast to coast, seeing the rich landscapes our country has to offer. What she has decided to do with the pass might surprise you. Attar chose to go across Canada sharing her story and hopes others will share theirs. Attar will be making multiple stops across Canada, first going to Montreal and Halifax before returning to Ottawa. Then 2 days later, Attar will be traveling to Winnipeg, Victoria, and Vancouver.
I thought that by seeing all the different corners of the country, it'd give me an idea about what people are going through and whatnot.
Throughout her travels, Attar will be speaking to Canadians across the country, both in person and online through her blog and social media, in hopes of hearing their stories and letting them know that their stories are meant to be heard. Attar hopes she can be the person she wanted to have when she was younger. She hopes people will be willing to share their stories with her to share.
I think I want to be the person that I needed when I was younger, and that's always just been my thing, and I can't stand by and let people struggle and watch them struggle, and I'm like an opportunist. I saw that train pass and I wanted it and I got it. So
now, not only is this story personal for Attar because it is something she has personally dealt with, but also because it's Canada's 150th birthday. She hopes she will be able to bring the country together in a time of war, crime, terrorism attacks, and acts of pure hatred.
I think this is the way to celebrate the country and its diversity and everything that we've come from and all that whatnot, and just really celebrate the people on top of that and all our identities.
And we are happy to report that we have partnered up with Layla. We will be checking in with her weekly from wherever she is across Canada, so she can share her stories of what she has heard and learned from her experiences. Next week she will be in Montreal and Halifax, and we will have more on that on Thursday. It's been a popular past couple of weeks here in Ottawa with festivities taking over the whole entire city. Between Italian Fest and Glow Fair, there was no shortage of things to do. There has been no shortage of things to do in Ottawa over the past couple of weeks. As Canada's 150th birthday is well underway, Ottawa is still welcoming the world with cultural events taking over the Aberdeen Pavilion at Lansdowne. This time Irish culture was celebrated. Between Irish traditional music and Irish dancing, Ottawa got a look into the deep roots of Ireland festivities. People of Ottawa had the chance to come out and try some of Ireland's finest foods and also have a hand at Irish sports. Environment Minister Catherine McKenna also stopped by. If you were in the downtown core last weekend, you would have seen 150 tents set up in the Byward Market near George Street. The event that was called Trophy was to show that everyone had a different story to tell, and that's what makes Canada so unique and diverse. Those who are interested was able to go and sit in a tent and listen to about a 5-minute story from a complete stranger. Topics from immigrating to Canada to sexuality and personal issues with mental health and addictions came up. At the end of the session, you were left with a personal question, which you would write down and hang on the top of the tent. Ottawa's Italian culture was also celebrated. The annual Italian festival took over Preston Street with live performances, music, and street artists. The main attraction was, of course, the food. More antique cars than usual were on display this year, and that gave an insight into the motor world of Italy. Sunday's performances was the end of the celebrations. And lastly, the 4th annual Glow Fair closed a portion of Bank Street. The annual event drew thousands into the downtown core with neon lights to get involved in the activities, which included a walk through the Enchanted Forest, games, and street performers. The festival ended with a pumped-up performance at Center Stage, which grew a few thousand teens. Well, now let's take a look at what will be coming up next week on the program. Coming up on the next episode of Ottawa This Week, we will be checking in with Layla Attar, who will be in Montreal and Halifax talking about mental health, addictions, and other personal issues. Also, we will be taking a look at the Humane Society and everything they do for animals. And of course, with Canada Day being this weekend, we'll be giving you the highlights of what happened. All of that and more will be coming up next week on Ottawa This Week. Well, that's it from me here at the Anchor Desk for this week. I will be back here next Thursday. We will also be having a Canada Day special coming out next week as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Charlie_Senack and like my page on Facebook at Charlie Senack. Also, to stay up with TWIN News Ottawa, you can like our Facebook page at TWIN News Ottawa and follow us on Twitter at TWIN News Ott.